I'm super curious about the movie, but you've seen the original movie, right? The original Lindsay Lohan Mean Girls.
Yes,
And just out of, to get context here, what do you guys think of that movie just in general?
we love it. How
That's
can you not? It's
yeah,
iconic.
it's a fair assessment. I feel like that one and like Clueless and a couple other ones are just kind of uh up there as those movies that were always kind of fantastic.
Totally.
So
Yeah. So we are big fans uh of it.
have you seen the stage play?
Yes.
You have, okay.
We're gonna
That's
compare and contrast all of them for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm the most curious about actually is how it compares to because I haven't seen the stage play. So I want to know how this compares to that and if it's worth seeing the movie or if it's better to get tickets to the show or what. So I will let you guys dominate the conversation a little bit.
Okay. So I'll give a little bit of background about the characters so you know who's kind of in this one. Um, so Regina George, she's played by Renee Rapp. I think I knew her from The Sex Lives of College Girls. That's kind of where I
Hmm.
knew her from. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I did not.
And then Katie is played by how do I say her name? Andrew Rice. She was in the last thing he told me. She was the daughter. You know who I'm talking
Okay,
about?
yeah, 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 yeah.
This
Yeah.
redhead girl right here. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
knew you would know her from that. Um, let's see here. Her mom was played by Busy Phillips, and she was like the perfect mom. Like they look so much alike. I just loved her mom in that.
Yeah, actually,
Um,
yeah, in that picture you can tell. Yeah, they look a lot alike.
yeah, it was like so spot on to cast them together. I thought that was excellent. Janice is played by Owly Lee, I think is how you say it. Carvalho. She's the voice of Moana.
Okay.
She was amazing. Like I just loved her. She was so good. Damien, I don't know who he was, but he's not as well known yet. And then the sidekicks, Gretchen Wieners and Karen. I don't think they are in much of anything. Lindsay Lohan does make an appearance, just a small appearance towards the end. And then it's Tina Fey and Tim Meadows. They're both still in it, which is good. Which I read a little funny thing because they were saying that they were only going to be in it if they didn't have to sing, and so they didn't sing. Although there was one little funny part that almost transpired, but yeah. Oh, so how much spoiling do you want here? We don't want to ruin it for you.
I mean, is it that different than the movie in what
It's
can be spoiled?
closer to it's closer to the musical, so there are differences, but I mean, nothing major. I mean, I don't know that it would ruin anything. The main story is pretty much the same, wouldn't you say? It's just like little things that are different. So probably by the time you get to watch it, you're gonna forget anyway. But I don't know if
Yeah,
you spoil it for viewers either.
and I think if the story's the essentially the same as the original movie,
Yeah.
then I think you're good. I mean, at this point, I feel like everybody's seen
Mean
um
Girls.
Mean Girls, right? Like it's been
Yeah.
around forever. So
Yeah, I don't, nothing majorly is different that, it changes for. So I think we're gonna just chat away and it should be okay. Um, so just overall, everybody knows the Mean Girl story, so we don't need to recap there. But um we feel the same about some things, but there's some things we feel differently about. I didn't care for the musical as much as Sydney did. And this is like pulled a lot from the musical. There's a lot of the same
mhm.
songs. There's a lot of the same differences in what they did change about the movie in it. But I liked this a lot, even though it was more like the musical. I liked it better than the musical. I think there was just more to see. I like the music better. I like the costuming better. I like the cast way better. So I was pleasantly surprised. Like I was shocked. I went into it thinking I'm going to hate this. The reviews are like hit or miss. Didn't like the musical, so I went into it not expecting very much, and I loved it. I was shocked, and I love when movies do that. I love when, they prove me wrong. Um, so that's kind of my recap, my basic recap. So anything you want to, I'll talk more, but you want to add some things in right at this point?
Well, personally, I didn't like it I didn't like it like that much more than the musical. Like I didn't think it was like way better than the musical. I thought it was like
Oops, sorry.
pretty much
Equivalent.
yeah.
Okay. So, you want to talk about what some of the differences were?
Sure. So I noticed a lot of differences in like the music. We compared to the musical or the original movie.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what the difference from the original movie, because I think that
Okay.
most people have not seen the musical.
Okay.
So, I think that it rushes through the overall story a little bit more because I think they have to accommodate for time of the music. So you did say that you felt like it was a little bit choppy at points.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was too bad, but she did mention she thought some things didn't flow very well. Um, there also is like, how in the first movie when Katie has like that internal dialogue going on in her mind,
Mhm.
there's none of that going on here, right? She
So
didn't have any of that talking in her head or anything like that.
that's like where she's explaining it in terms of like the animal,
The
like
apex.
documentary kind of view.
Right,
Right.
exactly. So there's none of that going on. But that all that being said, like there is still because what really sucks, I know people diss remakes and things like that, but what is good about this is that there is so much original content that if you are a big Mean Girls fans, I do think it gives you enough. I think it still gives, it's very current, like they've changed a lot of it. There's like more social media in it, things like that. But overall, I think it still lends itself to, like the 2000 vibe enough. There's still like all the, quotes like so fetch and can't sit with us on Wednesday, and like when they start taking those too many of that, those things out is I think when viewers get pissed and
Mhm.
they're like, why bother doing this? And, either do it completely different, like make a whole
Yeah.
new movie, or put enough of it in that we're getting the things that we loved about it, from the start.
Right.
So I felt like I was fed enough of, that stuff, the burn book,
Yeah.
October 3rd. They did change the iconic dance. It was
The yeah.
I didn't realize that she knew why they changed it.
Instead of in the original movie how they do the Jingle Bell Rock dance
Mhm.
at the Christmas talent show or whatever that was, in the musical they do a different song called Jingle Around the Pole, and then that's what they did in this movie. And
Mm.
a lot of the dance was different, and then the end of it was different too.
Yeah. So instead of like um Karen, instead of her,
No, Gretchen.
oh, Gretchen, I'm sorry. Instead of Gretchen kicking the speaker, and I don't know how much you remember, but she kicks the speaker into the boyfriend's face. The music starts, glitching, and then Katie has to sing and keep the, show going and save it. None of that happens. They end up, wait, what did happen?
Okay. Instead, they were trying to do like this like flip thing, and
Oh,
then
that's right. Yeah.
Regina accidentally fell with her behind facing a lot of the audience and showing a lot, and then it ended up going like more viral
Oh,
like
yeah,
on
that's
social
right.
media and
Yeah.
stuff.
So that was kind of like an updated version of,
And that's what happened in the musical.
okay, got it. So it's Jingle Around the Pole, not Jingle Bar Rocks.
And they had to do that due to like copyright and stuff.
Oh, okay, got it. I will say, I think this one is a little more sexualized than the first one? Do you?
I don't know. I don't know if everything like went over my head, but I actually thought it was the opposite.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just thought there was more sexual references. Like there was language. The girls were boobs out. Like,
But
I mean, they
were
were
more
like that in the
yeah,
first, but
yeah, they were more like that in the first.
like I don't remember the guy talking about sitting on his D and all that stuff.
Oh,
So, anyways, yeah, it's definitely, I would say, better for the older kid, the younger teens to older teens, but we did take some younger ones to see it today with us too. And ones that had already seen the original, they were fine. A lot of it went over their
Yeah.
head and they were already kind of familiar with the story. So it wasn't the end of the world. But I would say if people haven't showed their kids this movie yet and they're like in the 10, 11, 12, you might want to hold off.
Yeah,
But
it's a very high school story anyways, like
yeah.
overall. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, she has a younger sister, so she gets exposed to a lot more than, she
Yeah.
did at her age. But
Yeah.
the only like character that I felt was a little bit off was Gretchen Wieners. She seemed a little bit I don't know, I wasn't believing her as much, but like almost all the other characters I was like in it, like
Who,
they
who
were
plays
it.
Gretchen in the first one? Is that
Gretchen,
what's her face?
the blonde, I can't remember.
Yeah.
She would say a few things here and there that would give me that vibe, but I think overall she didn't like convey the character. Originally I was thinking I wasn't gonna like Karen as much because she was like almost like stupider. Is that a word, stupider? More
no.
stupid. Am I the stupider one?
Yes.
um More ditzy, I guess I should say, like really ditzy, like extremely ditzy. But she grew on me and I ended up liking her a lot. So she was kind of silly. What are some Damien? I mean, he's freaking awesome. He's
Yeah.
the Janice's sidekick, the guy,
Yeah. Have you
with the
seen
big
the video of him meeting the original guy? They were at
oh
they're at a, I don't know if it was a party or if it was a red carpet for the Mean Girls movie or what, but he was very excited to meet the original guy. Like gave him a
oh I
hug and,
bet.
and talked to, it was really kind of a sweet thing to see.
That's awesome. Do you see
Yeah.
it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, we'll have to look that up. That sounds fun.
Personally, I feel like character-wise, compared to the original, I felt like Damien and Janice were the only ones that like expanded on their character and like elevated them. Because I think we also got like some more content with them compared to the first one.
Yeah, I can see that. I agree.
So
Yeah, I thought they were really good.
they like just like really like brought their characters to lives.
Yeah, I agree. I thought they were like conveyed enough of the original character, but made it their own without you feeling like you weren't getting enough of the original, if that makes any sort of sense. But yeah, I mean, there was a few things. I'm trying to think, what do they not have in there? What else was that? They didn't have like they did some updating things, like they're on like the three-way phone call on the landlines,
I
like
didn't even think about that.
they didn't have that. They didn't have like the coach hooking up with the student,
Mm.
which is a little more of the time, so I think that was like a good call.
Yeah, it's definitely a no-no these days for sure. Like,
Yeah, one thing we were saying that we do miss is like when Katie first comes to Regina George's house when she meets the mom and all that, and the sister is dancing, like shaking her ass, like to the milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. They didn't have that, but we loved that part. So that was a little bit disappointing. And then I think the only other thing I kind of missed was when they had the Halloween party, they had all that still too. But she was still the bride, the bride of Frankenstein or something like that, where she called herself an ex-wife. They didn't actually say, she didn't say she was an ex-wife, and I like always thought that was a funny little part. But so just little things like that. Overall, the story, everything happens pretty much the same way. You got more.
Besides all the singing and stuff.
And plus, yeah, in it plus singing. Like I liked the music better in and the performances in the movie over the Broadway show, but you actually like some of the Broadway show ones better.
Yeah. I feel like okay, like music wise compared to the original Broadway soundtrack. I mean, I'm a big musical theater fan, so compared like with like compared to my mom, I like it a lot more, but I felt like a lot of the music was like rather underwhelming and like I don't know. They just took a lot of like the out of it and
I
just
thought there
made
was
it
more umph.
no, there wasn't. Yes. And like they kind of sucks because cinematic musicals like use the film, they're supposed to amplify like the music to make the music like sound bigger than it actually is, but then everything was just like very undertoned. And then yeah, I just felt like a lot of the instruments and the vocals and stuff in the original soundtrack were just a lot more like lively.
I
But
mean, you
yeah.
did see it live too, so that might, have
Yeah, I was
helped.
gonna say, I wonder if having a live orchestra
Yeah.
and the power that you get from a live orchestra is lost a little bit in
But they
the
also
cinematic version.
yeah, they changed a lot of the instrumentals.
It was. See, that's what I liked
Yes.
more. It was a little more pop like, and I think I liked that
Mm.
a little more.
But I still thought the lyricism was so bad.
It's kind of cheesy. I mean, it's just cheesy, in Broadway, it just is to some extent, I mean, but see, I thought in the musical, the costumes were terrible. Like, I just thought they were bad. The cast to me, like, I wasn't buying them. They just seemed too old to me. And some of the characters, some were really good, and then the rest were just like, I'm not buying you.
I bet
But
though for especially for a traveling show, because you guys would have seen it in San Francisco, right?
yes,
So it was either a touring company or somebody that was set up in San Francisco. So it's not an original. Like, how long was it in San Francisco? Do you remember?
it was for a while. It was on this SF Broadway,
Okay,
tour or
so it's
whatever.
there for a while. So it's
Yeah,
probably not just a touring company. So you have a little more solid set. But I mean, it's really hard to cast a bunch of, I don't know, 16 to 20-year-olds.
exactly. So they used
So they're
older,
gonna be older, yeah.
exactly. So
And
that
then
to me was not working for me.
yeah, and then on top of that, for the costuming stuff, you've got to have costumes that read all the way at the back of the room. So it's kind of funky, especially for something like this, where I assume the costuming is pretty kind of bright and in your face,
It was,
so that
yeah, it just was, I don't even really know how to explain it. The costuming for the movie was better to me, but here, I'll say this. This is where we differ in it. I always think it's funny when we compare like movies about high schoolers because she is a true high schooler. And so she's always like, it drives me crazy when adults are making movies about high schoolers. Like we're not getting it right, like it's not how it really is, which I get.
Yeah, that's I was also worried about like all the social media stuff. When I originally watched like trailers and I also saw behind the scenes, I noticed a lot of like social media and like phone stuff. And they probably did that to just like make it more modern, but I was really worried they were gonna shove it in our faces
Overdo
and
it.
stuff and then be like,
mhm.
just like how I don't know, just like try to be like relatable to it towards Gen Z and then when they like if they like really don't understand it. But luckily it was more low key and like they didn't really I thought it was okay. I was
Yeah.
really worried about that going in, but then it ended up being fine.
Yeah. And you also were not happy about something with Janice.
Oh, I didn't like how they changed like her like overall vibe of like her look compared to the original movie because in the original movie she was more like I don't know if like emo was the right style, but just more like darker. And then here, I felt like I felt like a lot of the costumes in this new movie like didn't like represent the characters like in their personalities very well. They all look too similar to each other.
Mhm.
And then like Janice looked too like just like the whole overall aesthetic looked too similar to like a lot of the characters that were supposed to be her oppressors. Um and then it didn't really show like the difference.
To me, I felt like they did though. I felt like she was way different than her original, but to me, like the popular girls, I still looked at her as like the alternative girl.
But like barely.
Not as drastically. Yes. It wasn't as drastic as the first.
Like she looked like pretty similar to them, I would say.
No, I feel like she had crazier makeup and did weirder
But a lot
things.
of them had like
Yeah.
like
Yeah. So this is
more
just
bright makeup.
I really feel like, like some movies either people love it, hate it. I feel like this one is going to be all over the place. I think there's going to be a lot of people that like it, for what it is. They're going to be like first time watchers. There's going to be people that like the theater more, or the original is the best. I mean, you can't compete with that. But I still, like I said, liked it. And I think it's good. People are going to be pretty harsh on it. But I've read kind of things all over the place. At first, I was reading really bad stuff. And that's why I was like, oh man, this is going to suck. But I've been reading a little bit more good. So
Well,
overall, we were happy.
yeah, it's going to be like hard to recreate an iconic movie because
Yeah.
that's going to be kind of destined. Like I feel like it's going to be just destined for failure.
Yeah.
Because if you don't execute it like perfectly, then people are going to be like angry
Right.
immediately. Like if it's not like spot on, perfect, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a movie that I would have thought was untouchable, but it's close. Like Mean Girls is kind of the original is kind of iconic in itself, right? And so
Very much so.
they get a little bit of a pass because it got turned into a musical, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
then a separate thing, and then now they're doing that. One of the things that drove me crazy about this one was just the advertising, because for the first couple of trailers, they didn't even acknowledge that this was a musical.
Agree.
Like it just looked like it was a remake of Mean Girls, and I was like, I don't need that. Though the first one was great, and I'm kind of a remake snob at this point. Like if something doesn't, if there's not a reason to remake something, I really don't need to see it, right? Like I'm just leave it alone. If the original is great, it'd be like, if they're doing the Ghostbusters sequels right now, which are a little questionable anyways because it's been so long, but if they just tried to remake the Ghostbusters, I'd be like, no thanks, I'll just go watch the original. You can't beat Bill Murray and all these people. And
Yeah.
the thing about the original Mean Girls is the cast really was kind of perfect for that movie.
Yes.
And so it already having been turned into a musical, I think helps a little bit. Like it shields this a little bit from some of that criticism. I mean, it's a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 67% from on the audience score. So I mean, it's pretty reasonable, I think.
Yeah. It's not like
Um,
you didn't totally tank.
yeah, yeah. So I think that's probably a good place for it to be. I don't know how it's doing at the box office. I thought I saw that it actually did pretty good in its opening weekend.
Yeah.
Um, so that's promising. I like, because I also am a musical theater person. I did a bunch of musical theater in college, and I've always really enjoyed musical theater. So I'm happy when a good musical succeeds. So I hope it does well. I think it's a little more universal than something like West Side Story,
Mhm.
because I feel like West Side Story is an old story now. I mean, it already was. It's Romeo and Juliet, but um, the feel of it and the music of it is from an older generation, and this is newer music.
Yeah.
So
Like an
like,
easier watch for the masses.
yeah, like when Wicked comes out at the end of the year, I think that'll probably do okay.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious about that one because they're splitting it into two movies. And I didn't think it was that long of a show when I saw it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're adding something to it or what, but that one should be pretty good.
Hmm. And I haven't heard much about that yet.
I don't know much. I only know the two leads. The girl that plays Elphaba is, I can't remember her name. She's a black actress. And I didn't know she sang. I've seen her and stuff, and I didn't know she sang, but apparently she's really good. And then what's her face? Ariana, yeah, Ariana Grande is playing um Glinda. No, yeah, Glinda. Yeah. So
That's
it'll
interesting.
be
She's not
Yeah,
my favorite.
Oh yeah, she's okay.
Eh.
You know
so
what my first complaint about the Mean Girls was? Just real quick. Why didn't they release it on a Wednesday?
I know that would have been
That would
kind
have
of
been
cool.
smart.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
anyways,
Plus,
I
it would give
know.
them a longer weekend.
Yeah.
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 That would have been fun. But I
That's all.
wouldn't have been able to see it on a Wednesday. That would have been the problem.
Well, still, it's just for fun.
I
What
would have
else did
been.
you
Yeah, it
to
would have been a
add?
very pink audience.
I know.
Yeah,
We wore pink, of course, because
yeah.
gotta.
Most people in
Yeah.
the theater were pink.
Did they?
Yeah. I think that was it.
That was your
Other
pink.
than I felt like a lot of the choreography looked like a TikTok dance, but whatever.
Yeah, that's that. I think for me, that's the hardest thing about movie musicals is you lose some of the magic of stage
Yes.
choreography because they're trying to do all the different shots and all the different angles and get everybody in, and there's 1,000 takes in there before you get the final product. Whereas in a Broadway show, you have the whole stage and you get one shot at it,
Right.
and there's a certain magic in that that you don't get um, when you do a movie musical. And I think that's why something like, when you look at old musicals like The Sound of Music or something like that, they're wider shots on the things where people are moving around and dancing around. They're not going from character to character to character. They might switch scenes, but it's still kind of everybody in the scene.
Right.
Um, and that works better. And I think we've kind of gotten away from that because we're worried about the spectacle of things.
Hmm.
Um, so that's what if you watch Hamilton on the Disney Channel.
Hmm.
They did their version or not their version, but their recording of Hamilton, and they just recorded the stage play, and so it's still pretty authentic to the show, and I think that works pretty well.
Yeah. That's one
Uh,
we actually do want to go see live. We didn't get the opportunity to see that live, but I'd love to see that one.
it's still crazy expensive out here. Like
Yeah.
on Broadway it still costs a fortune. Um, so I don't know if I'll get to see it or not, but I'll probably get kicked out for singing along anyways. So. Uh, But with that one, because I used to commute from San Jose to Tracy
Hmm.
in rush hour. So, in the mornings when I'd go at like 10 or 11. And so that's like an hour. It's not the longest drive in the world. Coming back, it's 2 to 3 hours, depending on traffic. So to stay awake, I would play and sing along with Hamilton. So
Yeah.
I,
I
I,
still
I
do.
yeah,
Yeah. I know it's the music is amazing.
yeah, I love that
So
one.
good.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
You gonna hang out more or are you
I
ditching
don't know.
us?
I don't know. Depends on what else you're talking
Well, you can just hang out and when you got to jump ship, you just dive off the
You
train.
just fade away, just back up. Yeah,
No.
fade into the pink. So, well, really quick because I've been watching Echo here behind me on Disney Plus. It's the first MCU show this year, but I was really thinking because there's been a lot of talk, and even Andrew's kind of started to get on board with the idea of kind of superhero fatigue or superhero burnout because there's
Yeah.
been so many superhero movies. And so I did a little reading, and since I've got two of you here, just if you had to guess before the year 2000, like how many superheroes movies do you think there were, you know, through like history before the 2000s?
Total?
Yeah, just make a guess. It doesn't even
Oh
matter.
my gosh. I'm like in no way a professional enough to make this
about.
calculation. Oh shit.
I mean, there were probably like a lot of like comics,
You
but
mean
not
like
like
every
movies.
single separate one or like Superman, Spider-Man, like just overall?
I'm saying overall, so including sequels. So if you said Superman,
Okay,
you
maybe
count
like
2, 3, and 4.
No, I'm not trying.
like
I'm not gonna.
60, I don't know.
I'm not even gonna.
All right,
Okay.
so before 2000, so what a lot of people consider to be the movie that really kicked off the modern superhero genre, kind of saved the genre, was actually Blade, which was in 1998. But I'll count that from before. So before the year 2000, um, and going back to the beginning of cinema, there's only basically 43 superhero movies.
Mhm.
A lot of, some of those are Batman movies, some of those are the Superman movies. There's 4 of those. So there's stuff. I'm counting the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies in there, some other stuff, but there's 43 going back to the 2000s, or
Oh,
before the
you're
2000s.
too far off and completely embarrassed myself.
Yeah. So, and then from 2000 to 2010, there were 25. So
2020. Okay.
so just in that 10-year span, we had almost half of what we had all beforehand.
Wow.
And that was still by the end of, so the MCU didn't kick off as we know it until 2008. And that was with the Incredible Hulk and Iron Man. And those were still the only 2 movies pre 2010, right? So the MCU wasn't even a thing yet. There's 25 movies. Um, that was the beginning and the end of the X-Men series, the Spider-Man movies before Marvel's Tom Holland Spider-Man's, the Fantastic Four. There's all kinds of stuff in there. The most successful ones in that time were the Dark Knight films, the Batman films from Christopher Nolan, which were a little darker. Once the MCU started, so you take the 2010s right all the way up to 2020, there were 47 superhero movies in that decade.
Wow.
So just in that span, they beat out the entire previous century. So, and to be fair, in that decade, we ended with what a lot of people think is, the best couple of superhero movies ever made, which is Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. Um, so, we're only to 2004 or sorry, 2024. And I think up to this point in the 2020s, we have 28 superheroes movies already.
Damn.
And that's in 4 years. And then on top of that, if you count the MCU TV shows, there's 12 more of those. So that's
Yeah.
40. So, if you really kind of think about the genre and how much it's being forced into, like, how much we're seeing, it's been a lot. So
Yeah.
I think, we're really, really, really starting to see the superhero fatigue, and the fact that in in 2019, or is it, what did I say, 2019? Yeah. You had an Endgame and Infinity War, and you had those movies um kind of finishing out this long saga of movies that did really well. Uh Ever since then, there hasn't been a movie that has done really well. And I think part of it, has always been that if those 2 movies were so good, what do you do after that, right? You finished a story, and then you have to start over. So everybody's kind of a little skittish about everything anyways. But there haven't been that many movies that have done well afterwards. And I think part of that is the burnout. And like I said, um, if you count Echo and the Marvel Disney Plus series, and I'm not even counting the Netflix series because there's actually more of those in there. Um, but you count those, and we're already up to 40 different superhero things, and most of those are Marvel. Um, it's tough. So with Echo coming out, I just feel like every new thing that comes out that is a superhero thing comes with a lot of extra criticism. Like,
Mhm.
that people come at them really hard. And I think, people came at Echo pretty hard too. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of, not quite production drama, but there's a lot around it that um, have had people kind of negative about. Number one, um, it's the first TVMA, like the first adult um, superhero thing that Disney's done, right? Deadpool 3 is coming out this year, and that's going to be rated R, and that'll be the first rated R MCU movie. This is the first one that got the TVMA rating. And then, it's coming at this late into the kind of the run of the superhero stuff. And then it just, it's only 5 episodes, and they dropped all 5 at once. So there was a lot of people coming in assuming that that meant Disney was trying to drop it and run, right? But I've watched it all up until, I think I have 20 minutes left of the last episode. And I really like it. Like, I actually think it's really good. It's it's a different kind of story. It's, you know, as the story goes on, she gets some actual powers that she didn't have when she appeared in Hawkeye. So she's kind of becoming more of a superhero or a super anti-hero or whatever, than she was in Hawkeye. But she, you know, she's evolving as a character, and what's really kind of cool is they really tie in. So she, the character, I don't know about the actress. I know Alako Cox is, she is Native American, but I don't know what like tribe she is. But this story is based on the Choctaw tribe, which is, I think they said, is from where Alabama is today. Um, and they give a good amount of the history of the Choctaw people in there too, or at least what they believe their history is, right? Because it's very spiritual and all that stuff based on Native American stories. Um, but with this and What If, we actually have our first two Native American superheroes on film. So it's kind of a big deal. And what's really cool is that Echo and Alako Cox are in real life, she is a deaf Native American amputee. So she it's not a blue screen. She actually has a fake leg and she totally kicks ass. Like she fights incredibly well. And I think it's really cool, like not to be all corny and, you know, representation matters and all that, but I think it's a cool story to have for anybody um that can identify with any of this. You know, Native Americans have always been on the fringe of storytelling. Like they always come up in Westerns. Like we always have Native Americans in Westerns because, you know, cowboys and Indians has always been a thing, but um, they don't get a lot of modern stories. And I think they're getting more now than they ever have before. Did you watch any of The Curse with,
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
I think I only got a few episodes in.
because that
I
movie,
forgot
that
about it until
shows,
you had brought it up again, but
because it's weird as crap. That show is bizarre.
it is.
Um, Uh, but with that show, I was actually thinking about it, and that show is an art piece. So, you know, if you look at it um, more as, you know, with the idea of looking at art, right? Like you can walk into a museum and look at all the art, and not all the art's for everybody, right? Like if I walk in and I see those damn Campbell's soup cans painted in 15 different colors, and I'm like, that's not art, you know. You know, Andy, what's his name?
Warhol.
Yeah, there you go, Andy Warhol. It's not my jam, but he is for other people. He's ridiculously famous. So sometimes art is telling a, you know, being told in a different way, and you kind of just have to accept that. So, but anyways, back to Echo. It's it's a short, quick story. It's an angry and violent story, but the acting is really good. I really like Alakwa Cox. She is, like I said, she's deaf in real life. She doesn't speak in real life. She uses sign language in real life. She has an interpreter in interviews and stuff like that. Um, and I think it's really cool to see that really well portrayed on the screen. And then, you know, to deal with the Native American heritage, both in going back into the history, but also in the way that they live now. Because, you know, I'm just, you know, I'm somebody that grew up in California and Washington and primarily around the whitest people I know, especially now that I live in Connecticut. The only thing whiter than the snow is the population. And and so, you know, I don't have a lot of experience with Native American stories. And I remember going to New Mexico for work, and it was really jarring because we went down the freeway. Me and my friend were driving down the freeway, and on one side you have the hillside and these houses that are obviously multi-million dollar houses. They're huge, hanging off the edge of the cliff and looking out over everything. And then the other side you have the reservation, and it's beat up. I mean, you're talking about, you know, trailer homes and, you know, trash everywhere. It's just, and it's, you know, it's really unfortunate. And so this is a little more, not quite as gritty a take as that would feel like. Like they definitely, they have, um, you know, they have neighborhoods and homes, and it feels uh, more American rural a little bit. Like they all
Mhm.
have farms and stuff in this. Um, but in its own way, it's it starts off as a revenge story and then becomes kind of an awakening story for this character. So hopefully we're going to get more from her. Um, but she's really good. I was laughing because she has a really good resting bitch face. Like when she is just in most scenes, you're like, this girl is very angry and she frightens me a lot. But every now and then she smiles and she has got a like a winning smile. Like when she smiles and looks happy, she looks super happy and all that, but she looks very grumpy for most of the movie or most of the show. It goes pretty quick. Most of the episodes are 45 to 50 minutes long, and there's only five.
And
But
that's all that is going to come out, or?
that's it. That's it. They dropped all five at once. That's all that's going to come out for at least for this run of the character. I don't know that anybody knows what they're doing with her next. But funny enough, the Rotten Tomato scores are almost exactly what they were for Mean Girls, the musical, which we just talked about. 72% from the audience, 72% from the critics, 66% from the audience. And
And she was
I
in Hawkeye?
yeah, she was in Hawkeye.
I remember. That
She
was one
was
Hawkeye was like one of my favorite series of them.
I kind of
yeah.
remember.
But
That
I'm
was the
like, for some reason, I'm like, that was a while ago, and I'm
When
like,
Kate gets like, isn't it when like Kate gets like taken and then like she fights her, doesn't she?
yeah, yeah, they all kind of fight each other.
Yeah.
But I think Echo fights more with Hawkeye. I actually think you're right. I think Kate and Echo fight on the rooftop, and then Hawkeye shows up.
remember
It's
that.
been it's been too long, but because Hawkeye was just over a year ago, but it was two Christmases ago, right? It was a Christmas show in 2022, and it that one was good. Like I actually agree. I really
I
enjoyed
love
Hawkeye.
that one.
It was a lot of fun, a lot of drama, but a lot of humor in there.
Yes.
Um, I
Do
think
you,
Haley Steinfeld is fantastic. She's so fun. And then Florence Pugh was friggin' hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this one's not anywhere near as funny. Like this is definitely it got the TVMA for sort of for a reason. It's definitely darker and heavier, and it's not a kids superhero show, but at the same time, like when I think of something that's TVMA, I'm worried about sex and things like that. And there's definitely none of that in there. Like
Just more violent.
realistically,
Like more
yeah,
violence is what
yeah,
the
yeah.
issue is.
So, if your kids have seen stuff like that before, it's heavier than most MCU shows and movies, but at the same time, it's not so crazy. It's not even as violent as the Netflix Daredevil show was. So if you've seen that, scale that back a little bit, and that's where this one sits.
So you're saying we need to give this a chance?
I think so. I really liked it. I think it was good. It starts off. The first scene is really kind of confusing and a little jarring because it starts off with the story of the tale that's been passed down of the origins of the Choctaw people, which is a very supernatural story. And so it opens up with these people that don't, they're definitely human beings, but they look a little different, right? And they're in this cave, and there's a bright like pool of water and light, and the cave collapses, and then they come out and basically turn into humans, and they're the first of the Choctaw people, and that's their Adam and Eve story, if you will, right? And so it doesn't really tell you that's what you're watching. So it just starts off in this weird, funky, glowing cave, and you're kind of like, what the hell am I watching? And then it jumps in. And so each episode kind of opens with a, I don't know, 5 minute or so bit of, that kind of shows the evolution of number one, this character's family, but also, the Choctaw story over time. Um, so it's definitely worth watching, I think. And like I said, it goes quick. Um, Not the happiest of shows, but it works for what it is. And I would definitely say to give it to give it a watch if you're at all inclined to watch the MCU shows.
So when you were talking about superhero burnout, I feel like I had that. Like we watched a ton in like 2020, like during
Mhm.
COVID. We watched the whole everything in like order, and we were like in it. We were watching everything. And then like just this last, I don't even know how long. I'm just like, I can't do it anymore. I'm just and the other thing is I do when you're saying it's a little more serious, a little more heavy, I do tend to like the sillier,
The
more
lighter.
comedic Marvels. So, but I mean, I'll give it a shot. I mean, I like something with a good story too. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
I
you
actually
guys
watched.
Will you watch?
Oh, sorry. I watched a video on like the whole MCU thing and like what's been happening, and because I was curious. I was like, why does it just hasn't been like as good and stuff, and it just seems more like it's been more like quantity over quality, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And then also like if they pretty much got rid of a lot of the Avengers, like a lot of them died, so like it's changed a lot too.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because part of that too comes out of like Chadwick Boseman passing away, right? Because the Black Panther, he was going to be,
Oh
Yeah.
he was going to be one of the main Avengers, right? Like he was supposed to take over. And I think, when you look at the Avengers, you still have a lot of them. You still have, Ant-Man, who's historically been an Avenger. You have Doctor Strange. Captain Marvel could be in there. Thor is still around, so you could have him in there. Like, there's a lot of people they can carry over, but they haven't done anything to tell you they're carrying anybody over. It's like Iron Man died and Captain America left and Black Widow died, and they're like, we'll get back to that.
yeah.
And they set up, Shang-Chi as a new character back in 2021, and they haven't done anything with him since.
I don't think I
Um,
ever saw those. You saw those, right?
Wait, which one?
uh,
What's it?
Shang-Chi.
Shang.
Oh yeah, I watched that.
And I really enjoyed that one, and I liked him a lot. I thought he was pretty charismatic, and the fact that they didn't bother to bring him back was kind of a bummer. He's going to get a second movie, like they're still talking about making it, but with that one, I worry about it being too little, too late, right? Like if you
You're
don't,
not like tying it together like well enough anymore, or
yeah, yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like there's no right now we're in a position where Disney is kind of like, and Marvel is like, well, we have a story, so just keep watching. We're going to get there. And so we're waiting for that to come together. Whereas with the original Avengers, when they started tying that together, there was only like 4 or 5 films before that came together, and we had an Avengers team. And there's been a lot more between Avengers Endgame and
yes.
now, and we still don't have that story. So that's hurt them a little bit. Did you guys watch the Marvels with Brie
No.
Larson? And you didn't
I,
see that
I
one?
I'm giving up like on Marvel. I mean,
She's like, I'm done.
I I
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just for me, it's been like a lot more boring for me lately.
Not into it.
Like we pretty much watched like every Marvel show, and until finally, I feel like the last was probably like She-Hulk.
Mm.
I didn't even finish that.
Yeah,
I really didn't like She-Hulk. And then that was kind of like the last one before I just kind of gave up on all the Marvel shows. I mean, I still watch the movies more, but when it comes to the shows, I definitely don't watch them as much
yeah.
anymore.
It
But
just became a lot to keep up on too.
And
yeah,
I do feel like that was like a make or break show. I think it's tough because right before that you had Miss Marvel, which I thought was great. I thought Miss Marvel was fantastic. Hawkeye was great. The Loki shows have been pretty good. Um, but then in this whole round, they went relatively gritty. Although I thought the newest season of Loki was really good. But Secret Invasion before that was really dark and heavy. Echo is darker and heavier. The advantage that it has is only 5 episodes, so it goes real quick. But yeah, they've they've leaned into the dark and heavy. They've kind of it's been one of two, either or you get Thor: Love and Thunder, which is ridiculous and silly and stupid and doesn't quite work. So they've kind of lost their footing to a degree. I personally have enjoyed just about everything I've watched. Like She-Hulk, I struggled with, but as far as movies and even the TV shows go, um, it may be because I grew up on comic books and all that I'm a little more forgiving. Um, especially growing up, I read some bad comic books, like some poorly written, so it happens, like the stuff kind of ebbs and flows, but um I do think part of it is that at some point, like you said, it was became quantity over quality, and then and the numbers, show that. And in the 2000 in the 2010s, it worked. Like, yes, the number of superhero movies was really high, but Marvel was absolutely killing it at that point. And when they finished that story, people were like, "Yes, we need the next thing to be great." And when it wasn't that great, people started to fall off.
Yeah.
And the other thing about something being as big as the MCU, something being so popular, is that the bigger you get, the more haters you get, right? It's
Yeah.
just how it goes. So, there's a lot of negativity around the stuff now that wasn't there earlier, and people like to jump on as soon as they can when they see something going sideways. So,
Yeah. There's just
um,
so much to watch. So I mean, people are really particular in what they're going
oh yeah,
to, accept now. So people are going to be a lot more, critical of things.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, I think so. My whole point, if I didn't make any sense because I ramble and lose myself, is that yeah, do think superhero burnout is a thing. I think,
Yeah.
um, I think it's happening, and I think it would, I like Echo. I think it's good. I think some of the things that are coming out are good. But as far as Marvel is concerned, they cooled off this year, so we get Deadpool 3 as the only movie. And I think we only get one more TV show this year, and that's later in the year, near the end of the year. So,
Yeah.
um,
They
you
might need to
know,
be put on a little timeout.
yeah, they're I think they're cooling their jets and trying to fix some stuff. I know the Daredevil TV show that they're going to bring back for Marvel, they just decided to redo a bunch of it. They brought back a couple of characters that were really liked in the original that they weren't going to bring back. They were going to kill them off. And I think they got a bunch of fan backlash and we're like, you know what? Maybe we just need to, kiss some fan butt for a little while and make people happy. Um, and so they're kind of retooling and rethinking what they're doing. Um, so I think them slowing down for a year is not a bad thing.
Yeah, agree.
Um,
Maybe
slowing down,
we'll
get it
be
right.
rejuvenated.
Yeah, I think we need that, to be honest.
Yeah, we need a break. I mean, sometimes you just need a break of things.
Yeah, and to be
Mhm.
fair, you just need that one thing that's really good
Yeah,
to get you back
respark it.
in.
Yep.
And I think Deadpool 3 has a chance to do that. The downside to it is that it's rated R, so you're not going to get a lot of the younger crowd in there.
I don't think did you
Um,
ever see
I've never
Deadpool?
watched the first
Nah, me
Deadpool,
neither.
but I really want to.
Yeah, I mean,
they're
we
uh,
could watch that.
they're adult. There's definitely a lot of adult talk in there.
Is there
Uh,
sex?
a little bit.
Yeah.
No nudity, I don't think, but there's a
It's happening.
yeah. He's a naughty boy, the Daredevil or
Mm.
the Deadpool. He's a bad boy, but but it's fun. Like it's funny, especially the first one was really good. The second one was pretty solid. This one is going to be kind of crazy and all over the place because the whole multiverse saga that they started opens a lot of opportunities up for Deadpool 3. And the advantage that Deadpool has is that they don't care about being PC or being, right in the eyes of the comics or the other movies. So they're just going to go nuts and have a good time with it.
Yeah.
So
You know what I just remembered we did just watch was when it came out was Gran Turismo.
Oh yeah.
Did you see Gran Turismo?
I watched it with my kids. I watched it at a bad time, so I was a little sleepy and I missed some of it, but it was
Mm.
okay. I didn't love it.
Yeah, I
Um,
liked it like
yeah,
more than I thought I would actually. I don't know. I thought it was
I
an easy watch and entertaining and
yeah, I heard that from a lot of people, and I don't know what it was that didn't grab me necessarily, but from a
probably
lot
because
of
you're
people I
half
heard,
asleep.
but that doesn't help for sure. I fall asleep during a lot of stuff. I'm old, all right. Um,
We're the same age.
yeah, but I feel old.
It's because you don't sleep.
Well,
Gotta sleep.
I do just very
The wrong
inconsistently.
times.
Yeah. Yeah, very inconsistently. Like last night when nobody could make it, and I was just going to record a solo episode, and it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I was like, I should set an alarm for like 11:30 so I can start recording whether anybody shows up or not. I forgot to set an alarm, and then all of a sudden it was 3 in the morning. And I was like, I should get off my chair and go to bed. But yeah, so yeah, I'm just old. I'm just old.
Yeah, I do hear you.
So you said you watched something else. What was it? Oh, Lessons in
Lessons in
Chemistry.
Chemistry. I love that show.
Do you?
So good. I I mean, it's probably a little slower for you. It's not, a lot of action, but damn, it to me, it is so good. It was just um Brie Larson is the chemist in it, and she's not like someone that I just love normally, but I really liked her in this. I thought she was super just it was a perfect part for her. She's kind of dry and
Yep.
cold in a way.
Hmm.
And so that was like totally her character in this. She is a chemist and back in the 50s though. And so
Mm.
she's very much so in a man's world. And so she just really has to be a tough cookie, to keep up with these other chemists and whatnot and fight her way through to being respected and whatnot. And I don't really want to spoil something for this because I think it's good. And if you do
Yeah.
want to watch it, I don't want to spoil that for you. But
Yeah, I do.
um, yeah, I just think it's really good. So basically, the main point is what happens is she is working. I don't remember it's like Hastings or something. She's working from some chemical, company. And she's like she's not a chemist, but I don't know, like a I can't even formulate words right now. Like a sidekick or a co-chemist or something. I don't know what the name is, but um, so she's like working on projects and whatnot, and something kind of happens pretty early in the episodes, which was kind of shocking, and you wish it didn't happen. Um, but then everything changes like from then on, and so she then has to kind of find her way. She ends up getting pregnant and having to support herself. And when everything kind of went awry for her, she got a lot of the work she had been doing for this company like stolen from her, like all her research and whatnot. And the men took over, stole her work, like took it for their own, that kind of shit. So she was like fighting back. So anyway, she had to kind of like restart her life over, try to figure out how to support her child and whatnot. And she ends up meeting this guy that works for, some TV production company. And he realizes that she would be good for a show. He needs to find a new show to put on. And she's an amazing cook. And so she really brings in like just the way she cooks is all about chemistry. She's like, researching, jotting down numbers, degrees, all this stuff. So she's like very scientific about her cooking. And so she ends up with this cooking show. And so basically, that's kind of the plot of the story. But I just really like it. She's like really smart. She's quirky but she's feisty. She fights back, like fighting the patriarchy and tell them to get their own damn drinks and shit like that. So it's really good. I actually was hoping that you were open to watching it because I do think you'll like it.
I do want to watch it, and I actually like Brie Larson, and it's funny because she does seem to have this aura of being, kind of dry and all that,
Yeah.
like you said. But she's not though. Like in person, like she's
No,
really fun and energetic. Did you see her and Jennifer
you met
Lopez?
J-Lo. Yeah.
Holy
So
crap.
cute.
Like
Yeah.
that was one of the sweetest things I've ever seen because she is like, they're like, they're calling up J-Lo and she's like, no. She's like, no, no, don't, no,
Yeah.
no. And
Like
she just
she's not a
can't.
celebrity herself.
Yeah. Like, yeah, she's a freaking Oscar winner. Like,
Yeah.
you know, she's won like the biggest awards, and she's like, no, don't do that.
Right.
Please,
I
I
know,
cannot
it's
handle
really
that
cute.
person. And
Right.
so, and then there's another one, I forget who it was. Somebody she's worked with, I think, and she was backstage at the same show. So it was the Golden Globes. And she bounces like a bunny rabbit across the whole friggin' room to give this woman a hug because she's so excited to
Yeah.
see her. I mean, she, seeing her outside of her character work and outside of, totally professional environment, she seems like a kid at heart,
Yeah.
and she doesn't get to portray those characters for whatever reason. She did in, Scott Pilgrim and some other older stuff, but I think because she's become such a dramatic actress, she did that movie Room, which is the one she won the Oscar for.
Oh, I forgot about that. Wait, is that the
Mhm.
one with the kid?
Yeah, where
Yeah, that was good. I liked that
yeah,
one. You watched it with me? Where
Which
they're
one?
in the kid is they're
they're
like
in the
being
Oh,
bunker.
I did
active.
do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I sent
she
that to
was.
you.
Yeah, she told me to watch that. That was really good. I
That
forgot that she
was
was in that.
It's pretty sad, right? Like I never watched it,
Yes,
but
very.
it's yeah. But that's the one she won the Oscar for. And
Oh,
then,
okay.
she's done some stuff since, and even in the MCU, like she got a lot of crap for being such a dry and, you know, not so funny character in the original Captain Marvel. And for me, in the Marvels, they rectified that. Like I actually thought the Marvels was a really good
Oh, okay.
movie. She's got a lot more humor in that than she did in Captain Marvel.
I think she is
Uh,
good at comedy. Like
she
that's
is,
why I
yeah.
love this show so much because she has that dry persona that she always has. But then she falls in love. You see this like shell breakdown and this total softer side of her. So like that I just loved. I don't know how to explain it until you watch it. Like it's so good. You just see so many sides of her and like the range and whatnot, but she's just this like tough cookie, but then she has this soft side and then like she's funny, but it's not like outwardly like ha ha ha. It's like she just I don't know. It's just like a different sense of humor, and you just find her quirky and funny, in a way. But yeah, I definitely think people should watch it. It's so damn good. Like just different too, like a different story than we've seen. So it's cool in that sense.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. I do want to check it out. It's on Apple TV, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I will try and check that out this week because for myself, actually on Apple TV, there's a show that's been on for a while now, and I kept putting it off for some dumb reason. And I finally started watching it this week. It's called Slow Horses, and
Hmm.
it's on Apple TV. Stars Gary Oldman, who I don't know why I would think that I wouldn't want to watch something that Gary Oldman's in because the guy's amazing. Um, but it's a British spy show. But the take on it is that Gary Oldman is in charge of this like subset of MI5, which is like their CIA. And the place that he runs is called Slough House. And it's where the rejects from MI5 go. The people they don't want to fire necessarily, they want to kick out, but they don't want to have, you know, doing real work. So it's kind of this house of rejects kind of thing. And I'm trying to think in all three seasons, I don't think there's anybody that I totally recognize. No, that's not true. Kristen Scott Thomas is the actual like number two in command at MI5. So she's been around for a long time. And there might be one or two other actors in there that I recognize, but generally speaking, it's a very British cast. I don't recognize, most of the main characters, but it's a really quick run because each season, so there's three seasons on Apple TV right now, and each one is 6 episodes, right around 45 minutes to an hour. But it goes really quick, and it's it's really cool because number one, Gary Oldman is one of the best actors I think of the current generation of older actors because he can play friggin' anything. And in this one, like he's a slob. Like one of the first scenes, like he's falling asleep at his desk. There's holes in his socks. He's running this place like he just doesn't care. But he is a legend in the spy world. Like everybody knows who he is. Like his character's name is Jackson Lamb, and everybody knows that Jackson Lamb is or was a great, spy. And now he's I mean he's fat, he's got a big old beer gut, he farts all the time, like he's a slob, just a total slob. Seems like he doesn't care, the people working under him, he's like, just go do the stupid task so I don't have to deal with you, but they don't go out in the field. And then of course, because it's a TV show, they kind of get pulled into these larger stories and actually have to go out and do real things. And it turns out they're not the worst spies. They're just some of them are just crappy people. Some of them just have been in a bad situation or whatever. Um, but it's a really fun show and you get hooked into it really fast. Part of it is because yes, Gary Oldman is amazing. Like he really is so good at his part, but so is everybody else. Like they really play their characters really well. Like the other main character, the character's name is River Cartwright. I've never heard of the actor, so I can't tell you his name, but he definitely has like if you looked at this guy walking down the street, you'd be like, that guy thinks really highly of himself. Like
Mm.
he's a handsome guy, younger guy, and he just looks like he expects to be good at everything he does. And he looks like he'd be a little full of himself. And he is to a degree, but at the same time, like he's been knocked down a few pegs because he wouldn't be in Slough House if he wasn't. But he's really kind of charismatic in his own way. So he's really good. And then just, I mean, it's a great cast. And like I said, people that I've never heard of, but they're so good. And it's a really fun spy show that will keep you guessing. And there's a lot of, decent twists and turns through the show. And the 6 episodes will go really fast. Like I think I've watched all 3 seasons. I'm still halfway through the third season, but in like 4 or 5 days.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So it's really, really good. And it's on Apple TV also. So if you've got Apple TV, it's worth putting up there on the list.
Okay.
And funny enough, the only other thing that I've really watched that I'm not going to bother talk about, I'm going to wait for Andrew, I think, because he's been watching it. So if he's going to be back next week, we'll talk about Monarch, which is the kind of Godzilla verse
Mhm.
show, but also on Apple TV, funny enough.
I'm not watching that.
And then the only other thing that I've been watching is I started an X-Files rewatch because it's been forever
Mhm.
since I've watched the X-Files.
Mhm.
And one thing that's really cool is they remastered it from the original tapes and stuff, and it looks perfect. Like it looks like it was made today because not
You
long
mean
ago.
they just like cleaned it up? It's not like a
Yeah.
new show. It's just the
Well,
old one and they cleaned up
yeah,
the
it's the
quality.
same show. Yeah, and they took the film from the original, and because it's film, now you can run it through modern filters and stuff, and make it look
So
like
crazy to me how they can do that.
it's an HD, right? Like it looks great. It looks really, really good. Because I watched um, Stargate a long time ago. I started watching that, and that quality wise, if you stream it, the first I don't know 6 seasons were pre HD,
Mhm.
and the film they shot it on couldn't be uh, couldn't be remastered in the same way, so it looks old.
Yeah.
Whereas the X-Files looks, even though it's older, actually, looks new. It looks great. And so it's been a fun rewatch because it's still a pretty damn good show. If you like the X-Files, you can also see how a show like Fringe was, which is a modern, more science-y take on the X-Files, where the X-Files was very supernatural. Fringe is very sciencey, and Fringe is one of my favorite shows of all time. But you can see how it was influenced by the X-Files if you watch the X-Files. So that show's been a lot of fun to rewatch. But otherwise, I have no idea what I've been doing since Christmas. I don't know what I've been watching. Like
It's a weird time.
Have you watched
yeah,
the okay, probably not, but have you watched the Scott Pilgrim anime? The more recent one?
I did. I watched it with my kids.
Oh, really? Did you
Yeah.
like it?
Yeah, it was weird. It was different. It
Yeah.
was fun. What I really liked about that one is that they got the whole cast from the film, so everybody's in their exact same parts.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I think it's something that had to be animated because the story was so weird
Yeah.
that it had to bounce around. Where the first one was goofy, the live action one was goofy, but it didn't do some of the crazy stuff that the anime did. But I did really like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, I watched it with my kids. They really enjoyed it. And what I thought was cool too is they stuck to the animation style or the art style of the comic too. So it really was a good um adaptation. And I think the creator said they don't really have an intention of doing any more. Like even though the movie kind of or the series kind of ends in a spot where they could do more. That like that last shot was, I forget who it was, but kind of like looking at everything that happened, they're kind of in like that. I don't know what you call it, but they have all the monitors up and they're kind of watching everything that happened or whatever. And it seems like they could do another story, but the writers were like, yeah, we don't have anything written. We're not planning on doing any more.
Oh,
So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I think this was pretty successful, so
it
it
was.
might, yeah. So it
Got like a
might,
fandom and everything. So
yeah, yeah. So if it
There's
gets,
a lot of people liking it.
yeah, well, a lot of people were like big fans of the original one, and they had been like
mhm,
really excited for the new one. But I think some people were a little bit disappointed that it was more like Ramona Flowers that was more like the um protagonist, I guess. Like it was more revolved around her because
mhm.
like Scott Pilgrim wasn't actually in a lot of it. But I mean, I actually
Yeah.
liked it because it gave it like a like it like different stuff happened from the movie, so it wasn't like just
Mhm.
like a direct copy from the movie. So you still like you didn't like know exactly what to expect.
Yeah, and it does that pretty quick because in the first, I don't remember, like first episode or two, it really felt mostly almost not quite like a remake of the movie, but they were definitely retelling that story. And then something shifts, and then it goes off into its own thing and becomes very different. Like you said, Ramona does become the main character because we think at one point that Scott Pilgrim is dead, right? Like that's the whole thing. So it yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really dug that one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I thought there was actually something else animated that I watched with my kids, and I can't think of what it was. But the next big animated type thing that we're excited for comes out in February is Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action one. That's coming out in February,
Oh,
and
Actually, I haven't watched the I haven't
I
watched
I haven't either. We're talking about watching it in February, the original, because it on so if you look at IMDb and look at like the best shows of all time, like it's in the top 100 of like shows all time, not just animated, but just like TV shows in general of all time. It's like a 9.3 on on IMDb. I think it's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is ridiculous.
Wow.
Um, but it's supposed to be really good. And then M. Night Shyamalan did a movie of it a few years back, and that got absolutely destroyed. To the point like it's like they even mispronounced the characters' names, even though they
What?
had the anime to go off of. Like they did a terrible job. But this one, if you look up just the trailer for Avatar: The Last Airbender live action, even if you've never seen the cartoon, it looks like it's going to be a gorgeous show. Like they're making a really impressive looking show, so I'm excited for it.
oh, so
Um,
it's on Netflix.
yeah, it'll be a Netflix show. But the actual cartoon, I think it's not technically an anime because it was made in the US. But the cartoon is supposed to be incredible. So we're probably going to watch that before we watch the animated series, and go from there. But yeah. So I don't know. I haven't watched anything else. Did you have anything else you've watched?
I mean,
I haven't watched this, but did you watch the new One Piece on Netflix?
Oh yes, that was so I never watched the anime, and I don't think I can start because it's like 800 episodes or something stupid like that. Like
the
it's
commitment.
I
it
really want to start it, but I'm just like it's really long.
But the
One
live
Piece-
action,
it's really-
One
I heard
Piece?
it's really good.
yeah, the live action is fantastic. It's a little weird. Like
Yeah.
it's a little
The anime is pretty weird.
it's super weird, yeah. But I was really impressed. We started watching it and I was like, I don't know what this is. We were just looking for something to watch, so we put it on and I fell in love with it. I think we watched it in like 2 or 3 days. Like we blew through it so fast. And it was so much fun. Like I don't know the original characters, so I don't know that I can say that it was perfect casting, but it felt like perfect casting. Like everybody was so good in the parts that they had. And the kid that plays the main character, like you watch it and you're like, this guy should be really annoying, but you just love him. Like you absolutely love him. The guy that plays Luffy. Um, and yeah, if you're looking for something to watch, I can't recommend that one enough. I loved that one a lot.
Okay.
So
There you go.
I've been meaning to check that one out, but I wanted to watch the anime first and then the show, but I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to get
yeah,
through
I think you can watch the show first and then the anime only because I don't even know that you get into the entire first season with the anime. I
Yeah.
think or with the live action. I think the live action one might get you to the end of the first season of the anime, but there's what is it, 18 seasons of the anime or something stupid
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
That's a lot.
It's insane. It's insane. I mean, they're 20-minute episodes, right? Like you can watch an episode pretty fast, so you could burn through a season of it actually pretty quickly. But the live action, they're longer. I think they're like 45-minute episodes, but there's obviously fewer of them. And it's an easy watch and it's a lot of fun. I think I talked about it on one of our episodes a while back, but it really is a lot of fun. And for it to be a live action version of an animated series, they kept it looking pretty real, but they also kept a lot of the stuff that made it, kind of fun in the anime too. So it's this really cool kind of walking the line. But it was a really good show. So cool.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I watched was Saltburn,
Mm.
which was weird, and I'm not going to talk about that in front of my child.
Yeah, there's some stuff. You know what though? To be fair,
Not to.
Great.
Because
Now
I
I'm finding
didn't
out she
know.
already watched it.
yeah, right. Right. She's like, I watched it twice and I took notes.
You had already seen it. Okay, great. Wonderful. Good
I
tabs
didn't
on my
know
kid.
I didn't know it would be like
I mean,
that.
shit, I get it. I didn't know it was going to be like that either until you're like in it.
I just heard about it and I was like, oh, this seems interesting.
Well, it
So
was
I put
going
it on and
around
I was like,
social media like a lot. I didn't never
Yeah.
saw that. You guys were telling me, podcasters were telling me, that they saw it a lot on social media.
Yeah,
I got blindsided. I had no idea what it was about until I was just like in the thick of it, and then I was like, "Holy
it
shit!"
was so weird, but
I
it
felt-
was really, really good.
It was good. I liked it
That's
a
what
lot,
I've
but I
heard.
felt so wrong for watching it.
It was very
So
about it.
knowing that, can you recommend it? Like, would you recommend it to somebody?
Yes.
Yes,
Alright.
just don't
Alright.
watch in front of your
For the
children.
right person, recommend it
Yeah.
to the right person.
I'm curious, like-
I did think it was good. I liked the story. I do like I don't remember the main guy, but I always
I
liked
liked
him.
him
Yeah.
because throughout the whole beginning, I was like, I really like his character.
Are you talking about the strange guy?
Yeah, Oliver. Or that's his name,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
That's
Oliver.
that's Barry Keoghan, right?
I think so. Let's
Yeah.
pull it up.
And the
Okay.
other the pretty boy, the handsome guy
Yeah,
is
I like
Jacob
him.
Elordi.
Jacob Elordi, yeah.
Yeah, he's on the rise right now. Like he's gonna have a big year, I think, this year.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in
Oh,
Euphoria?
the other thing is
I
who
think
I
so.
loved was Farley, who plays
He was in
Gran Turismo,
Yeah.
and he was so good in that, but
Yeah.
totally different. Like he really showed his range. So the main driver in Gran Turismo,
Mhm.
he's like the gay friend or whatever, but it was just like showed his range for acting like so well. Like, I don't know. I thought he was great. But yeah, I felt so wrong for liking this movie.
I didn't.
tell me this. But I mean, honestly, on the whole, it's a good movie. It's a good story. It's unique and kind of just quirky and weird. There's just these few scenes that have these, disgusting things happen. And you're like,
Yeah.
is this how people really live? I'm sure there are people out there that do this
Well,
disgusting, crazy
I
shit.
saw something and I wouldn't know about it. I think you might have been the one that said something about it, but there's the grave scene, right?
Yes.
And that was, it wasn't improvised,
I
but he came up with that
I
whole
saw
thing
that.
kind of on his own.
He did?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That
Yeah, like-
I heard that wasn't in the script.
No,
I mean,
they did.
okay.
Apparently they did a closed set, and Barry Keoghan was like, what would this actor do, or what would this character do in this situation? And then he just went with it.
He's
So
like, guys, I'm just gonna screw this grave right
Yeah.
here. Okay, this
Yeah.
seems like fitting for the movie.
yeah, he's like, and
But it kinda
action,
worked.
let's
It
go.
I mean, he
So-
was like really obsessed with. He was obsessed. He was like
Yep.
a stalker, So I mean, it does make sense, but
After I watched like a whole analysis on it. That's like I really like
yeah,
that.
because it kind of like is that type of movie that like messes with your head a little bit, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I gotta like think this through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll put it on my list. It's kind of on there, but I wasn't sure. So
But you didn't watch
yeah.
it?
I haven't seen it yet. No, but like these are the things that I know because they're the things that have been talked about so much, right? Like these, like I don't even think it would be on my radar. Like I don't think I would have heard of it if dude hadn't been all nasty in the shower.
Yeah, I think that's why it
Like,
got so
yeah.
much promotion. Well, there's even more than that. There's the girl and
Yeah, but
ugh.
it's got a great cast too, though. Like
It does. I thought
'cause-
I mean
All the acting was really
the
good.
acting was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just cool. Like the setting, the cinematography, like all of it was the story. It is good.
It's a lot of foreshadowing too. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
That's like a lot of my favorite parts in film. So
Yeah. I do think it's worth a watch. There's just
Yeah.
cringy parts, so just be forewarned.
Yeah, I need to check it out because I like Barry Keoghan. He's really good. He was in there's a movie called The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Oh yeah. So somebody just told me about that, but they said they liked Saltburn better.
It's possible. Having not
I
seen
was gonna
Saltburn, I
almost
can't
watch
say,
the other
but
one and compare.
I really liked that one because there's questions that are asked in that one that they just kind of don't answer and
Mhm.
leave you kind of on your own. Because I started watching that last year. I went through a thing of watching the bunch of the A24 horror films,
Mhm.
and that's listed as a horror film on there.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's white horror, if it's just suspenseful and weird. But it was really good. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I might watch that. Somebody recommended that because I told them I watched this. Somebody said this was kind of like a talented Mr. Ripley, but I don't remember. I feel like I saw that, but I don't remember anything about it with Matt Damon and
Funny enough, that's getting a remake this year as a TV show, as
Oh.
as a series,
yeah.
just called Ripley.
Oh,
I think Kim put it on her list, and I thought she was talking about when she said it. I thought it was going to be a series about Ripley from Alien, because there's a bunch of stuff from Alien coming out, but it's the talented Mr. Ripley. So
oh, interesting. Okay,
yeah.
maybe I'll watch that then. Yeah,
but
the only
yeah.
other thing I had watched, I think that you watched was Poker Face. I'm not done yet though.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I thought she was really good, but I like her a lot. Like I'm a huge
Yeah.
Natasha Lyonne fan.
I do like her. Did you ever watch Russian Doll?
Russian Doll? No, I meant to, and I haven't.
I never finished it, but I did. I think I watched the first season. I didn't watch the second.
I think I
But I
started the
really
first
I
episode.
thought it was a cool concept. I don't know why I couldn't get back into it the second season, but
It was a
I
little
did like
like
her.
Groundhog Day-y, right? Like she
Yes.
kept doing yeah.
Keeps dying, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like her a lot. I was like not totally sold after the first, I think I texted you after and I was like, I don't know about this, but now I think it's kind of a cool concept. I think it's just far-fetched, a little
Oh,
bit.
for sure. For sure.
Uh,
Like the one
It's
thing
kind
that
of cheesy in a way, but I think it's just that's just how I think I was thinking it was more serious. And then as I went on, I realized, okay, it's not as serious as I made it out to be. And
Yeah.
it's pretty far-fetched and silly, but
Yeah, any show like that I feel like has to be like if your character isn't actively like a crime solver, if they're not a cop or a detective or a private investigator or something, like you just can't run into that many murders. Like
that's
you
I've
just
been watching
can't,
this with
right?
my
Like
husband, and we're just like, oh, here she goes. Like this
yeah.
girl's just like a murder magnet.
Yeah, so I was like, she needs to stop going places because
Yeah.
she's killing everyone. You know, like it's partly her fault for showing up. Um, so you kind of like you have to accept that and accept some of the stuff that that make the story work. But each individual story is really good. So like if you take the ridiculousness of it of her showing up in her sixth place in like a month, and you know a sixth person dies.
Yep.
Um, but there's like what I love too is there's so many guest appearances in this. Like
Yeah. I'm sure.
Nick Nolte's in one.
Right. Adrian Brody, and he was in the
He
first one.
he was great, man. I was watching him and I was like, this dude, like I don't think I've appreciated his career enough up until this point, up until like I watched this, but he's
I don't
really
know why.
talented.
I've always loved him. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, there's just once people that click for you, but I just always liked him a lot. And I thought this was kind of like a different um character for him, and
Yeah.
I thought he was good.
Yeah. He was really solid. And then you got Benjamin Bratt, you got
Yep.
um uh Perlman, and then you have Rhea Perlman in there too, which is awesome.
I don't know
Uh,
what episode we're on. I want to say we're only on maybe like 4. I've been watching it with my husband, so that means it's going to take me like a year to get through it because, getting on the same page about having times to watch TV together is, pretty impossible.
yeah. Yeah, I get that. So
I do.
Bouncing.
Yeah.
It's going to go back into the abyss.
yeah,
Deep.
fade into the pink and disappear.
Well, thanks for joining us, because I
Yeah.
felt like you know, talked about things that I can't even talk about. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Hey, she's more relevant than both of us put together.
And she
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. So start her own show, we'll be done.
Seriously.
So we're good. But yeah, as a matter of fact, I don't really have anything else. So, if you don't have anything else,
I don't have anything else either. So I think it's a good time to
we can all fade into the pink
all
together.
fade into the, yeah.
Cool. Well, then I will, for the audience, I will say thank you for watching. If this is the audio thing, for listening, and I think Andrew might be back next weekend is the rumor. So we'll talk about Monarch and probably some other stuff. He probably will have watched some stuff that we've talked about tonight, but bounce off a little bit. So yeah. So there will be a show next week. I'm glad I was able to throw this one together a night late. It's good that tomorrow's a holiday, so we have a reason to be able to stay up a little late. And just a side note, tomorrow is also my birthday. So tomorrow's a holiday. It's my birthday, and I have to work.
Oh, that's a piss.
How lame is that?
Adulting.
I know, it's stupid.
It's
my own fault. I should have just taken it off, but it is what it is. So anyways,
happy early birthday.
Yeah. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and have a great week, and we'll see you next time.